We all know this Mike and the way he does his magic on the stage, but for being the most popular artist of all time, people rarely talk about this Mike, the humanitarian. They don't talk about what he did to help others, and that's why I've gathered accounts from people who have met Michael Jackson in person, often fellow peers, artists, musicians, but also people in the entertainment business in general, who have interesting things to say about him. They most likely give a more realistic portrayal of who Michael Jackson actually was, as opposed to who the mainstream media in the 90s and 2000s claimed he was. So let's get into it. The first video is from Jennifer Love Hewitt, the actress, producer, and singer who has played in several known movies. And around the same time Michael was active with his album Bad, she was gonna shoot a commercial with Michael. And this is what she said about that meeting. Michael did something quite incredible that meeting.
Anyway, it was amazing. And at the end of the day, here's what I loved about him most, is at the end of the day, I had to go to this charity function, and it meant that the commercial sort of had to be shut down at a weird time, and then he had to go, and he stopped at the end of the day. He was like, you don't know how important it is that you're doing something that's special and important for other people. And he was like, never lose that, always be that person.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, yes, sir, absolutely, okay. And he wrote a very big donation to this charity function that I was going to that night and sent a check in my name.
Really?
On my behalf, which is not something that I would have been able to do at the time. And sent it just to sort of button how important it is to give to other people and to do that. And I just thought that was extraordinary because he's Michael Jackson, you know?
This is what he did on behalf of Jennifer, without expecting anything back. I bet if Jennifer hadn't come out with the story in public, no one would probably have known that it wasn't from her, but from Michael. He probably did this for other people as well. The next person is a lesser known person who spent some time with Michael Jackson, Dr. Patrick.
You knew Michael Jackson, so how would you actually remember him at this point?
You know, there's a saying in Buddhism that there's a form of enlightenment called Bodhisattva, and this is where somebody, in some ways, defers their reaching nirvana for the good of others, or in some ways to alleviate the suffering of others. And when we look at Michael, you know, this is somebody who in 1983 took the total proceeds of his victory tour and gave them to the people of Africa. In 1984, we've seen when he co-wrote We Are the World with Lionel Richie, that sold 22 million copies, one of the biggest selling things of all time, and he gave it to the starving people of Africa. He turned around in 1993 at the end of the Dangerous Tour. This was 67 concerts. It was 18 months' work, and he gave every single penny of it away again to the Heal the World Foundation, which was to the people of Africa. In 1999, you remember when he had that big tour with Alicia Keys and Slash and, of course, Maria Carey, he turned around once again and gave all that over to the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. In, I suppose, my lifetime, and I've lived nearly half a century, there are 5 people I can count with one hand that would have achieved this level of enlightenment. John Lennon, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Bono, probably I'd put there as well, and Michael Jackson. The difference with Michael Jackson was that, you know, as a global messenger, not only did he do what the rest of them did, but he went and involved himself in things outside this, you know, poverty, racism, and if we listen to his music today, it is just phenomenal, the goodness of it.
Imagine being one of the biggest stars in the world in his prime and donating proceeds from 67 concerts from 18 different continents around the world, exhaustively performing week after week, knowing that none of it goes to you. Knowing Mike, it probably motivated him to know that his work could change the world, but any average person, I'm not so sure. If you've seen concerts from the Dangerous Tour, you'll see how much blood, sweat, and tears went into that. All of the money, from every single penny of it, went to the starving children of Africa. It was his aim before he started the tour to give all of it to people in need and ultimately raise $100 million. Want to know how much they got in the box office by the end of the tour? $1/4 of $1 billion, and all of it went to charity. Paul Dwyer, who wrote the book The Real Michael Jackson, Humanitarian, has collected information on Mike's humanitarian information since way back as a counter to the negative mainstream news that so often misrepresent him. In this convo on the MJ Book Club podcast, which I recommend you check out by the way, he says that his humanitarian legacy and work might actually be bigger than his musical work because of the fact that he would do more hospital visits than concerts and spend time with people who needed it, and also keep in touch with them several years later.
Yeah,
he did more hospital visits than concerts, right? Or every time he went on world tour into the cities, he would go to the hospitals and spend time, and not only just donate to charity, he would spend time with them, and that's not what you see other celebrities doing, to give them his time and and hold their
hours and hours. Yeah.
And not only did he spend time with them, he would follow up with them for years, sometimes the entire rest of their lives. He would keep following up with them and paying for their bills or, whatever they needed. That was the most amazing thing for me.
There are some stories of Mike actually curing or partly bettering the people who he visited.
I think it's my favorite story would be Christine Dowling from Ireland, and she couldn't walk, or she could barely get out of bed, and and she was flown out to see Michael's concert, and then I posted it before, but basically he held her hand, and she hadn't felt her arm in years, and she felt tingles, and then she was able to use her arm, and I know you've met her, right, Paul?
I haven't met her. I've spoken to her.
Spoke with her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she planted a tree after he passed away in Ireland, and but it's just you hear so many stories that people are affected like for the rest of their lives. Either they got better, or they were cured, or and I'm not saying he's curing, but kind of is. Like he kind of does affect them profoundly, and their arm. She was able to use her arm again.
The author of the book actually speaks on this further when asked where he thinks Michael Jackson's humanitarian aspect came from.
Where do you think his kind heart and his humanitarian efforts came from after researching him and the specific?
Well, as I touched on before, I think he was a bit of an angel. I think we've all got a purpose in life, and his purpose was massive, and I can't explain it. I'm very into the spirituality of it, but I really feel like he was a bit of an angel. I hear stories of patients when he would touch them on the head, and he was so kind and gentle, but they would feel a warmth rush through their body. Yeah. And then, so many stories of kids visiting Neverland, and then their sickness or disease would go, and they'd go and see the doctors, and the doctors would say, "We can't explain this, but you're okay, you're cured." So again, as you said before, I don't want to say he could cure, but he pretty much could, and there's power in hope.
Another touching story they talk about in this talk is this one.
But so Michael and the photographer were walking through a hospital with his entourage, a couple of bodyguards, and they came across an isolation ward where there was a little, I think he was 3 or 4 year old child in there by himself. He'd been isolated with an unknown disease, and Michael said, "How come he's in there by himself?" And the doctor said, "Well, we don't know what's wrong with him. We don't know what disease he's got. It could be contagious. He's got to be isolated." And so Michael said, "Okay." And they walked a couple of steps, and then Michael ran back into the room and held this baby. And all the doctors and nurses and entourage were like, "We can't go in there. What are you doing? What are you doing?" And so Michael gave the kid a hug, and they embraced, and then he came back out, and everyone said, "What are you doing? This child has a disease. You're putting yourself at risk." And Michael said, "I'm doing what any mother or parent would do. That child needs to be held and embraced." And that's what I did.
Oh,
and it was just what he did. It was second nature. He didn't think twice about it. So that is great.
During hospital visits, Mike gave patients some hope to hold on to so that they had something to look forward to. I recommend you check out this conversation if you want to know more about Michael Jackson's humanitarian efforts, because they speak a lot more about it, and this podcast is amazing. Obviously, Mike was a sensitive person. His emotional reach extended far above his own space, which is why I believe he felt the need to help others. He said this himself. For the average person, he sees problems out there to be solved. Maybe they will be, maybe they won't. But I don't feel that way. Those problems aren't out there really. I feel them inside of me. A child crying in Ethiopia, a seagull struggling in an oil spill, a teenage soldier trembling with terror when he hears the plane fly over. Aren't these happening in me when I see and hear about them? Honestly, in my opinion, if Mike sensed this pain within him, there was truly something spiritual about him. Enlightened masters that have walked the planet often said that once you have reached enlightenment, there is no separation or duality between you and creation. What is out there is within you, one-to-one. You are the universe. Many people see Michael Jackson as a very spiritually evolved being. In my opinion, this was the reason why he had an inclination towards humanitarian efforts. He felt the universe within him and could feel the pain of others. Many people are like this, but I'll talk more about his spirituality in another video. Perhaps his next video will be about that. I don't know. That's it, guys. Subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you next time. Peace.